guys. Hi. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I can kind of see you.
Hi, guys.
I see some familiar faces in the front. Hi, guys.
Bright lights in our face. It feels like we're in Madison Square Garden, so just pretend.
Free throws all night.
So, Ivy League college to going to a cooking school. What led you to that?
Well, they were all out of jobs at Stuff Your Face in New Brunswick, New Jersey. So, no, you know, it's funny. I was a Near Eastern Studies major in college. It had, with a specialty in Islamic art, it's very good cocktail conversation. It is not, in fact, the career choice that I was going to end up making. And through a series of sort of circuitous paths, what I realized was the thing that I loved most and cherished most about my childhood was growing up cooking with my mom, who's here in the audience tonight, and right here, front and center.
Oh, hi, guys.
My dad would eat the food. My mom and my grandma, and seeing the love that they shared through their food and also the health that they provided through it, the way that they really cared for the long-term health of their families through that experience was something that that I held really close to, and that I hadn't realized. You know, when I was making sort of these career choices, I actually went back to pre-medical post-bac for a while and thought maybe I'd pursue this doctor path. And what I realized was
medical doctor.
Yeah. And what I hoped was that you know, I could actually achieve the same results, which is to help people find health for themselves and help people find happiness for themselves in potentially a much less invasive way and a much more delicious way, which is, you know, through food. So I pursued the path of integrative nutrition, and then the CHU came along, and I said, hey, maybe I should go to cooking school and make this official. So
I remember when you did.
Yeah.
Would you say you squandered your time or your money at an Ivy League institution?
Well, as the parent of two gentlemen now currently enrolled in the very expensive liberal arts educational system, I would say no, because I think your money is going to be well spent. I think that what Princeton was able to give me was a facilitation and an encouragement of the curiosity that I came to school with, and the belief that like you should continue regenerating yourself and reinventing yourself and pursuing the things that you love and you're passionate about until you find the thing that you're really going to be able to contribute with. And if that takes you 15 careers or one career to find, you should feel encouraged to do that. And I think that's something that's a departure from the way that my parents grew up, or you know, any that previous generations were responding to, which was you pick one path and you stay there forever, and at the end of it you'll get the gold pen and walk off into the sunset. And I think now our generation is really like, and I have some Princeton classmates here, my best friends from Princeton are front and center here, and I think they would say that Princeton.
Are they the ones thrown off the train?
I told them you were going to try to get booed. They're going to hoot and holler themselves right out of the 92nd Street Y. That I think, you know, I think that that's the ability for us to sort of pursue happiness early on and pursue that passion early on and not be afraid to take those leaps of faith and really explore wildly and widely in a young age is really refreshing and something new that I think our generation's getting into.
Was that what Relish was about?
So,
because I love the title Relish, and it, first of all, I, as a condiment fan, love relish itself. Both sweet,
Spicy
mustardy,
relishes.
and spicy relishes make me very happy. On hot dogs or even on sandwiches, quite frankly. Even on a quesadilla. But when I saw it on your book, I thought, well, that's a perfect title. And what it implies is the joyous extraction of satisfaction and happiness. And that was clearly where your first book was headed. But it seems to me that the second book is even a little bit more focused. What would be the difference between the first and the second work?
Yeah, so Relish was really this, you know, I wrote it when I was 24, 25, and it was the genesis of it was actually over a couple wine nights that we had and with other friends where all of us inevitably felt like we were living a placeholder life in some area of our lives. And what I mean by that is like you're treading water, you're hoping the life that you want for yourself is going to kick in at some point, but you don't necessarily know how that's going to happen. You're not necessarily laying the groundwork for that to be able to happen. And so Relish for me was about taking my philosophy on food that had helped me lose almost 40 pounds while in college, which was, you know, how am I going to mesh what's healthy and affordable and practical, convenient, all these things with what's beautiful and delicious and fun and going to add those elements to my life? Where's that overlap? And that matrix and that that metric really helped me with my style, my home, and my wardrobe, my relationships with my family, my friends, my husband, now my children, my career, and of course, my playtime. Like, what am I doing to fulfill my life? And I think what Relish really did for me was it allowed me to focus and filter the very best of the tips and tricks that I'd learned, partly from being on the show with you guys and just seeing how you pursued your career and your joy simultaneously, and the little things that you guys would do. It's funny, the tricks of successful people and the tricks of people who really love and have passion in what they do every day are not obvious. Like, they're very, they're things like, if you'll allow me to reveal this, like you'll be on your phone for 5 minutes every hour, just filtering emails as they come in. But you're living in the moment the rest of the 55 minutes. And I think that that's something that allows you to deal with the massive amount of work that you have to accomplish every day, but still live in the present moment and enjoy your life. And so anyway, there were little tips and tricks I was constantly picking up that I wanted to share, only the best and the brightest of, kind of, which was what Relish really allowed me to do. And it was at a different point in my life. The Happy Cook is a pure cookbook. It's 125 recipes for eating every day like it's the weekend. And that really came about.
I think I have that written down.
Do you want to read that out loud? What's on that page of paper that you're having?
No, that's not on there.
And it's funny to reference my mom again and my grandma, who I dedicate the books to. They're my original happy cooks. And having children of my own now, and the job that we have, and the hustle and bustle that any of us have day to day, where food falls by the wayside and you kind of wait till the weekend. Not you, obviously you don't do this, but many people wait till the weekend to cook and eat the meals they're going to love. And my philosophy was, and what I grew up seeing with my happy cooks was, be wild and free in your kitchen. Don't treat it so preciously. Don't think so seriously about it. You're not supposed to be an Iron Chef, and you're not supposed to put out 4-course dinners every night of the week. Have fun with it, and allow the experience of that cooking journey to give you confidence. So often we talk about providing for people with our meals, like it's about sharing love, and it is, it absolutely is. But I think at its core, it should also feel like giving back to yourself in a way, like it's that freedom and resolve that you're getting there. And so the Happy Cook for me was a departure into that zone of just like, how am I gonna share the recipes that I cook day to day and week in and week out, that my whole family enjoys, that are simple and simply elevated, so they feel like celebration no matter what day.
So in your mind, how much of a bad person are you when you
For takeout?
No, not takeout. Takeout, someone cooked that was within walking distance of your house. How about Sabra hummus and old pita from the freezer, and maybe some pre-turned carrots and pre-made iced tea? Now, how bad of a person are you?
Not bad at all.
If you do that.
Not bad at all. And I'll tell you why. Some of my favorite meals have been what I call the hodgepodge, which is just pulling lots of things out of the refrigerator, laying them out onto your kitchen counter, and going to town.
It's a buffet.
It's a buffet. It's cornichon. It's very fancy. And I think that the quality of your food, obviously, ideally, you would make as high as possible. But it's really about the sharing experience of that and how you put it together. And I say, like, look, if you can only make one portion of the meal that you're putting on the table tonight, that's fine. Make the salad dressing. Who cares if you buy it bagged and throw it in the bowl? If you make your own dressing, or maybe you make a little pesto or gremolata to put on top of the rotisserie chicken you bought at ShopRite. Who's the wiser that you didn't roast it yourself, or at Italy, I should say, of course, obviously.
We don't have to shill all night.
Well, now that Sabra lost my endorsement, I'm not going to be able to,
You'll get it back. There'll be someone better. So, but walk us through a week. At your house. All right, let's not include last weekend's romantic escape to Rome, but let's just go to a regular week where you work, and there's no holidays, and the kids are there every day, and John's home every night from work at whatever time he can get home. Like, what's the meal strategy? What time do the babies go to bed?
John at like 7 and Phil about 8:30.
Okay.
Yeah, so the problem with the evening meal is that right now, when my kids are little, is it's staggered. Like, John gets his meal at 5 and Phil gets hers at 5:36, and then John and I will eat later when he gets home. But what I think
we should still stick with my plan.
Which is?
I think your son should be called Jovi. I think Jovi's a great name. Let's go with Jovi.
I'm not
all
sure
right, because
which
John
is
and John, all of a sudden we're not sure who's staying up
I
late.
know. I feed my husband at 5. He gets cranky otherwise, you know.
A wiser wife.
I know, you know. But I think it's one of those things where John or Jovi, where the way that I try to make myself sane in that process is that I try not to make multiple meals for multiple people. Like, yes, he's still getting some purees, but more and more so now as he, approaches that 1-year mark. I'll make chicken thighs and I'll cut his up really small, and I'll roast cauliflower and cut his up really small. Philo is a really good eater, especially if I let her watch Dora while she's eating. I really.
Was that a bad thing, Mama?
I honestly have to say now with 2 under my belt, I don't judge anything moms do to try to make their kids happy and healthy. Like, you do what works for you, and you.
So you're at the restaurant and you hand her the pad.
No, actually, interestingly, I don't. I think when we go out to eat, because it's still special for her.
Right.
I try to make that feel like a really prized family experience. You get to be here. You get to go out and have this experience.
Well, how often do you go out?
Likewise, when we travel, once a week we try to take her out probably.
Did you guys go out once a week when you were growing up? Not a
No, my mom cooked almost every night.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's part of living in Manhattan is you have these wonderful, especially like, we love to take her to try new things. Like she loves ramen. She likes some Thai food stuff. So I want her to have that experience. And frankly, John and I want to do that. So what are we going to do? We want to bring our kids along in that experience. But to answer your question of what a typical meal I would make would be.
No, a week. I want a whole week.
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have? I think it's one of those
months
things where what I try to structure my meals like is I'm going to pick proteins that are fast. I'm going to pick I might do a boneless chicken thigh, fresh fish, whole fish cooks in 15 minutes. Chicken breast obviously fast, but we do lots of vegetarian stuff. We do lots of chilies with beans. We do lots of grain bowls, sautéed greens, things like that. And again, there are things that stretch and last, and you can have multiple iterations of. Like if I make a meatloaf and I make the, there's a recipe in the new book for.
You mean the one we tasted today?
Indeed, you did. It's a hoisin glazed pork and turkey meatloaf. What'd you think?
I was surprised how much cilantro was piled on
There
top
was
of it.
no cilantro. It was basil and mint and parsley.
My piece had cilantro. But you know what? It was fantastic, and I'll tell you why. Because it was almost 30% herby salad on top, which makes it very energizing to eat. Like the glaze was sweet, which I liked.
Yeah.
The meat was succulent and delicious and moist. It was an excellent recipe. And the kind of salad with the raw jalapenos, for me, is exactly how I like to eat. I like the protein to play a bit, but it shouldn't be more than half of what is sitting on my plate, even as it's all by itself. And I thought that recipe, that recipe was fantastic.
Right.
So, but is that, that took some time. You had to form it and then cook it, right?
Yeah, but a lot of the cooking that I'll do takes very little actual process. Like the process of putting together a pound of turkey, a pound of pork, the ginger and the garlic and the scallions, some soy sauce, sesame oil, that takes not even 10 minutes to form it into a log. You put it in the oven and it cooks for an hour, but that is passive time. That's time I've gotten back. That's time that my home is being perfumed with this smell. That's time that I can feel good about getting this meal on the table. And more importantly, that's a meal that Philo's gonna love, that John and I are gonna love, and that has leftovers for me the next day that take a completely different form. So I'm gonna take that slice of meatloaf, I'm gonna put it on a piece of toast with spicy mustard, I'm gonna layer that fresh herb salad with the mint and the parsley or the cilantro, the basil and the jalapenos and the lime juice, and it feels, again,
different.
It feels
it's a different texture. It's a different experience.
You and I talk about this all the time, and I think America is coming to a head on this issue. Like, we want to be thoughtful. Not only do we want to be able to make good choices for us and for our families, we want to have an active role in defining what supermarkets look like, what our eating experiences at home look like. And I think that part of getting to that place where a meal is thoughtful and special and unique, but not extremely challenging to actually make happen on a regular basis, is figuring out what's the fresh herb combo I can throw on top of here, and suddenly it looks like this opulent dish, when in reality it's meatloaf from yesterday,
Right. So that's day one.
So a lot of my.
No, but what I'm trying to get at is the
variety?
handbook of lifestyle that this book
Yeah.
can and should be and will be. To make it usable for the regular consumer, whether it's the yuppies fresh out of college living in Manhattan and having a great time, or whether it's the housewife in the food desert that lives in, Enumclaw, Washington, or outside of Waco, not to diminish the two great towns of Waco and Enumclaw, but places that aren't as easy to find. Like in New York City, in 5 blocks, you could find 3 places that have fresh fish.
Sure.
and 5 places that have, you know, cilantro, basil, and mint every day, including a deli. So I'm trying to figure out how can we enthuse our viewers who are watching from difficult places to feel that same joyous power, which is what they feel when they watch you on TV. Describe these dishes.
Well, that's actually very much the mindset I approach these recipes from. So the recipes that are in this book are, for the most part, recipes that I try to make regularly. Like, you know, they're ones that I come back to over and over again. They're family favorites. And what I did in putting them into the book was I actually filtered through them and took out a lot of unnecessary ingredients, took out things that would maybe make them a longer process or a little more difficult to make, or have items that you wouldn't be able to find front and center at your local grocery store, much less if you had to travel 20 miles to get to that grocery store. And so what you'll find in the book is something that comes to mind is my Millet Burrito bowl. You know, you can have access to something like that when I describe it to you, it's millet or quinoa. You know, you can have these dried legumes and grains that are sent right to your house from online. You can buy them in bulk and store them. They're inexpensive. You top it.
You deliberately skip the words Fresh Direct on purpose right there?
Another sponsor.
Okay.
No. You know, kidney beans, a little bit of, you know, arugula or even romaine if that's what you have. Like, what you're making that's special in this bowl is this cumin and coriander vinaigrette, dried spices. Again, easy to have. A little bit of lime juice, a little bit of olive oil. Very basic, straightforward things. You top it with a little salsa from the jar, a little sour cream if you want that. And suddenly, not only is it an opulent feeling food, so you feel like you're getting, I developed that recipe when I was pregnant with Jovi, and I was craving, Mexican food all day, every day. I literally would eat chips and salsa for breakfast, and I was gaining weight rapidly. And you know, I was looking for ways to satisfy those cravings and not do the unhealthy thing for me or for my baby or for my body. And this was a dish that I came up with that in its incarnation ended up also being an extremely versatile and accessible dish that, you know, that sort of toes the line of that grain bowl I was talking about, where there are again, like, if you're dealing with feeling like health food is out of reach, or that that fresh produce is something that's a rarity, not something that's a staple, that's okay. Like, I would still rather have you be thoughtful about the canned or the bagged items that you're making the most of your meals from, and trying to figure out the balance of those items, and when you can slot in the fresh produce that becomes available to you. That's great. I would rather have you being thoughtful about that than mindlessly accepting that is the case and the way it's going to be forever. Because going back to my point about being thoughtful in this country and making a priority of our families' health collectively, we as consumers are dramatically shifting what producers are offering to us.
Right.
You know, if you go into your bodega, if that's where you buy most of your produce, most of your things, and you say, look, I would really love to have organic bananas in here, and you go in there and multiple times, and you say that, and you're going to be willing to pay $3 for your bunch of bananas, they're going to provide it to you. And slowly but surely, enough of us ask for that, and the price will come down, and the bananas will be available, and that's how we start to shift what producers know we're going to rise to the occasion for.
Even if the price doesn't come down, though, I mean, you're willing to pay that at that particular place, and you'll get your hemp milk and your rice milk as opposed to your 2% milk.
Or you'll stick with regular milk and realize that that's not what's going to make the difference in your family's health. If you can save that money and put it into something like the legumes and the beans and things like that are going to be the bulk of your meals that provide a huge amount of nutrition. I mean, one of the things someone asked me recently, you know, when you and I banter back and forth about you know,
naughty and nice.
About naughty and nice, correct? He's nice and I'm naughty. And we joke all the time about where's the meat and where's the stuff that's missing when I do these sort of healthier renditions of dishes that you and Michael do so beautifully and opulently. And I told this person, I was like, actually, Mario is the most religious observer of Meatless Monday in our crew, and you're the one who took the challenge to eat at the food budget line. And I think that your experience of that has taught you so much as a chef and as someone who eats the world. But I also think that it makes you more aware of how much variety and opportunity there is, even when you're operating on a tighter budget and with a smaller resource pool.
I agree. I would say, though, just to beat this horse one more time, let's go through that 7-day, 1 week.
Sure.
And just know, but I'm more interested. No, I'm not so interested in the recipe. Mm-hmm. I'm more interested in just trying to gather the flow of someone with the classic American family with the 2 kids and the 2 working spouses. Yeah. And how many times did you say you have a classic protein, like salmon or chicken or steak? And how many times do you have something that would have never come from my lips 6 years ago, a quinoa bowl or tofurkey or smoked whey or whatever it is these diets have in them. Not that I consider you a heretic or even an outlier or a strange person, but like your food intake is interesting.
You.
No, I find it fascinating, and I love you for it. But you grew up as a vegetarian, which in our neighborhood there were vegetables, but there were no vegetarians.
Well, you ate the vegetarians.
Well, that's what I always said. Most of my favorite things to eat were vegetarians, exactly. No, and nothing wrong with vegetarians, and I like a vegan and vegetarian diet a lot of the time. I'm just trying to figure out, like, what do you eat every week?
I
see you eat at the Chew.
I eat
I know
a lot
what
at the
we eat.
Chew,
We try to taste,
obviously.
but we try not to eat. We try not to chew a lot. We try to take one bite and move along and get through that.
But I don't think my evening meals, which are the majority of meals that I make throughout the week, are any different than what you're making. Like we'll have, we do a lot of like I said, chicken thighs and chicken breast early on in the week because usually we'll do either our rotisserie chickens from Italy or I'll roast chickens on Sunday and Monday evenings, and then we'll take them, that itself, because we'll do 2 of them, we'll have that meal, and then we'll do a chicken salad, which will be part of our lunch program. That night, that Tuesday night now, maybe we don't feel like having a big protein dish. Maybe we'll do, or a big animal protein dish. Maybe we'll do a grain bowl that night, or a nice pasta with pesto, something with an easy, fast sauce. My grandpa's recipe for Staten Island special tomato sauce, something we always have on hand. Like it's a really quick meal, and that's again something I don't have to fight with my kids to eat, and it's something that's easy to come together. I might make meatballs with turkey on Wednesday night. Again, it's something that like we'll go multiple different iterations. We could have it over quinoa if we wanted to, or we could have it just alongside a big leafy green salad, or we could mash them onto sandwiches if we felt like it. We eat out probably like Thursday or Friday night, and then the other night of the week we might do something whatever night of the week I don't have something big coming up the following morning. That's the night I'd like to go and make multiple courses. So we love like a big frisee salad with a really simple homemade shallot vinaigrette. Maybe that night we'll do like a stuffed branzino with just a bunch of herbs and garlic and lemon wheels in there. And we'll do like a grain salad. I've been doing one that's either quinoa or like wheat berries with sweet potatoes and pomegranate seeds, or dried cherries, dried cranberries, like whatever you have on hand, some kind of sweet fruit. Again, that sort of pulls and plays with my Turkish heritage, that where you have this sweet component coming in with the savory, and that's not a complicated dish. It has maybe 4 ingredients, but it's a unique flavor profile, so you feel like you're having something really special and unique, and it just rounds out your plate. But if you could only make 2 items of that meal, that's great too. And I think we'll supplement. A lot of the time I'll get like lebne and just do a drizzle of which is like a strained yogurt, or strained cream basically, and I'll just do a drizzle of olive oil, maybe like a sprinkle of some flavorful salt, a spicy salt or a smoky salt, and serve that with cucumbers, and that's a big, a nice starter to our meal that takes me literally no time at all. So I'm thoughtful about the way I play with existing items in my fridge and condiments that I keep on hand. I talk about this in the book as well. Part of what elevates a very simple meal and very straightforward meal to something that's worth celebrating and worth having your family gathered around for is making use of the existing condiments and what I call homemade flavor boosters that you can always have in your fridge, like this garlic chili oil that I make, or a fast remoulade, maybe some mint, basil, a little garlic, a little lemon zest, olive oil, done. You spread that on top of simple rotisserie chicken, and suddenly it feels like something that could come from a Mario restaurant.
Right.
So that's and you do your Taco Thursday or Taco Wednesday. That's something.
Now that we have no kids, who knows?
I know what will happen to you.
I'll warn you now. In 16 years, all hell's going to break loose around the house. And you think all of a sudden, hey, we're going to chase each other naked around the coffee table. It is not happening like that.
Well, yes. Well, part of the issue.
So you're at the beginning. We're not rushing you out the door.
Don't rush me.
But speaking of kids, all right. So what happens when Philo comes home from school and has some nasty, unacceptable snack food? Is there nasty, unacceptable snack food? Are there things that you will try to steer your kids away from? Because you were vegetarian or vegan? Vegan, right?
No, vegetarian.
Growing up.
Yeah.
And so was there things, if you brought home like a McDonald's hamburger, would your family have gone, oh, I don't know what you've done wrong?
No. No, I think one thing I learned from having health be a huge preference and priority in my life as a kid, and being very overweight as a kid and realizing sort of the hold that food had taken over me, where it felt taboo in some ways, and it felt that there were things that were off limits to me. Not even the meat category, because that wasn't something we
Off
made a
limits
big
by
deal
the
about.
family, or off limits by your own little self?
No, off limits because we didn't have Doritos in our house. We didn't
But you
have
could go
soda.
get them, or it was against the rules?
But no, I could go get them, and that was part of the problem. Was when I would go off to school and we'd have a coop, and there would be those bags of God knows what there, and that became a semi-rebellion, I would imagine, if I was analyzing my 16-year-old self, but also more just the freedom of, well, now I have $1 in my pocket and I can buy this, and I'm in charge and I can make this choice. And the problem with that was that it wasn't even that I necessarily wanted that food, although I think Doritos are delicious, or that was such a big thing for me. It was something that was off limits, and I think that's something that I definitely don't want for my kids in terms of like. There are certainly things that I don't keep on hands for them. There are certainly things that I would prefer them not to eat. But I think it's more important for them to see us eating by example and see us enjoying and loving food that's good for us. Like, I don't cook exclusively healthy food. You know this about me. I have a killer sweet tooth. Like,
it's not unhealthy.
It's not
just,
unhealthy.
Right.
It's moderated, and it's also balanced. It's trying to find that wonderful, happy, healthy equilibrium where it's like I'm getting the sensation and the indulgence feeling that I want, but I'm making smart choices to take away the things I don't need. Right. And that you saw that with the brownies today we did on the show, where it's like these are the fudgiest, most delicious, moist, chocolatey brownies you've ever had. And they have sweet potato and black bean puree in them. And that's,
I don't think you have to tell everybody that, though. I mean, they were just.
I don't like
they
to
were just
lie to
perfect,
my friends.
Actually, there's no reason. No, it's not lying. It's like how many times
it is
you
lying
sit
by
down.
omission.
No, but how many times you sit down and taste a brownie
Now,
and say,
guys.
"Well, I need the ingredient list on these brownies." It's more like, Jesus, guys, this is an unbelievably delicious brownie. I'm more interested. Can I have 3 instead of 2? I mean, they're little tiny brownies. I mean, you can have 3 in one mouth at one time. No, I don't think that's cheating or lying. I remember when those books came out. Jessica Seinfeld came out with that book, and there was another one at the same time. And they kind of snuck stuff in, but it didn't seem so sinister because it wasn't like they were deceiving people. They were just putting more vegetables in their spaghetti sauce, right? I mean, it was a good thing.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's wonderful. I mean, look, if you don't have to suffer for health's sake, that's that much better.
Right.
And I think that's part
Still
of it.
Tasty.
It's taste delicious, which is always the number one goal. It's if it's not delicious, I don't care if it's healthy. And especially when it comes to cooking with kids, or even just cooking for yourself, if you tend to be kind of picky about these things. Start with things that you like the flavor of, and then riff from there so that it becomes something you like doing. And that's the whole attitude of a happy cook. You're confident, you're casual, you're not too precious about things, and you have freedom in the kitchen and the confidence to know what to do with it. And I think that really comes down to finding a few simple techniques that make you feel like a boss in the kitchen, or domestic goddish in the kitchen.
What's the goddish bit? Like God? You mean goddesque? Goddish?
Yeah, so everyone knows about the domestic goddess, obviously, and we all aspire to that.
Nigella Lawson.
We all aspire to be that. And I think what I was thinking about when I was doing this book is perfection is never my goal, because I think it's unrealistic.
But you've already achieved it, Daph. Oh, come on.
I was setting you up for the compliment.
All right.
Here's your $20. No, I don't want perfection to be the goal, mostly because I don't think I think it robs you of a lot of the fun and the freedom of being able to make a mess along the way. I think that being in the kitchen as adults is one of the few places still left to us to safely experiment and not need to be great right out of the gates, and it be okay to fall on your face a few times, and the worst thing that happens is you throw it away and order pizza. Like, I really want people to hold on to that idea that it's okay to have fun and be easy on yourself. And so the ish part, it just gives you that little buffer zone of, you're almost there, but you don't have to get all the way there. And I frankly think it's a little bit sexier if instead of wearing a silk gown and slinking around licking spatulas of frosting, you're wearing ripped jeans and a great t-shirt and having fun barefoot in your kitchen. That sounds really good to me.
Daphne Oz's sneaky success. So, all right, so you've gotten over the transformation of your kids from groovy little follow your rules to groovy.
They don't follow my rules at all.
Well, no, I mean, right now they follow your rules because that's all they know. There's going to be a time when they discover the rules and they're going to try to break them. Then you lead them into the next path.
Yeah.
Well, then the next thing is what?
When I set them
I mean,
free,
these two cookbooks, the first Relish was, this is me becoming me. This is me now, mom.
Yes.
Kids in the photos, nice and messy around the house, not necessarily under control. Where's your next step, phase?
I think that my next step will have to be the getting your body back after baby book. It will be
come
the
on.
true lightening,
Come on,
the true lightened up version of my comfort foods, basically. So, and you know, I'm still working through that process. So, look, that's a specific type of eating, though. That's when you want to, you know, when you are trying to make health
Flat
and weight
tummy.
loss and flat tummy your number one priority. The happy cook is about being happy in your kitchen.
Right.
And that's a very different goal for me. And that's where my mind is at right now, because, you know, I haven't had the time to do the other one yet. But I think, you know, the only books I like to write, and the only thing I like talking about are things that are intimately involved in my life, things that I've been through, that I've struggled with, that I've had lots of failures with, and that I've eventually found success with, because then I can authentically share these tips and tricks that I'm learning along the way that I know so many other people are going through with me. And so, you know, where Relish was this sort of newlywed phase of my life where I was trying to get things in, you know, just make them click for me in a way that I could be setting myself up for the success I wanted to see down the line. And the Happy Cook is about me maximizing the moment that I am in now, where it's, you know, I want to have fun in my kitchen, and I want to have fun bringing my new and growing family around the table, and I want, you know, to replicate some of the wonderful experiences I had growing up at my mother and my grandmother's elbow at the stove. You know, the next book will inevitably be, what the hell do I do with teenagers? So maybe you can give me some advice on that.
I got nothing. I just kind of stood back and watched. You know, the less of the rudder of the ship, I think, the better it was. You know, you have to create the little boundaries as much as you can, but it's really only boundaries. And every now and then a broken rule doesn't mean, oh my God, the ship's just sunk. You know, you have to just try to do your best bet to coax them forward. You know that you've already trained them well as best you can. You showed them the things that you want, and of course you're going to do the same, just like these two young people called parents in the front row that you did.
Was there ever a point where you stopped being your kid's parent and wanted to be their friend, or how did you maintain that balance of knowing your kids are so cool and you want to be their friend, but
you can't be their best friend. You can be their friend. You can be friendly. You can have a friendly experience. You can't be their best friend, and you really have to always be their parent. You have to be the person whose judgment they need to search out or ask for, and even unasked for, you have to give it to them all the way through until the end. I don't know where the end is. I haven't even seen it, but they're in college now, and I call and just say, is there anything I can help with? And, you know, one of them is steadfastly not interested in my advice yet. And the other one is building toward that. But in any case, I offer it unquestioningly and without any reserve, saying, if you're going to make a decision as an 18-year-old and as a 20-year-old, I'm going to back it up. I may say, listen, I have a question about it, and I think maybe that's not necessarily the best one, but if it's your call, I'm going to go with you on it, because you're going to make some mistakes. And in my opinion, if you fall on your face, you're still moving forward. And I think that's a good way to look at it. So, and I don't see that there's any dichotomy between you and I. I think we look at it exactly.
No, 1,000%. I ask because, well, part of our conversation about food, and you found your passion for food so early, and you know, Benno and Leo already have a cookbook to their name, obviously, but you know, I don't know whether they're going to follow in your footsteps. Do you help? How do you sort of help to guide them on that path to finding their passion, to finding their fulfillment? Are you thinking about that?
The jury's out on that.
Yeah.
I tell them, listen, if you can't find something that you love at school, which were the highest grades that you tried the least to get?
Well, no,
like,
totally.
Where did you get an A that you didn't even try that hard on it? Because then you
fun.
probably have a propensity to do well on it. And you know, one of them said, I didn't like any of my classes. I'm like, well, okay, great, but how about we go for something else? And you know, let's you keep coaxing along. I think what it really, what you need to do is just help them try to find something that makes them excited. And when they find something excited, kind of like the way I found cooking. I loved cooking in high school, but my mom said, why don't you go to cooking school? I'm like, I don't want to go to cooking school. I want to be John Belushi, and I want to go to, a fraternity house and have a toga party and have all that. And I think that's exactly where my kids are right now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it kind of worked out. I went through the toga party phase, and then I realized I needed to do something with it. And I think that a lot of that was based on the fact that I wanted to earn to have money so that I could spend it either lavishly or even just on a really nice expensive beer or a regular beer. And I appreciated the experience that work afforded me, which was the freedom to be able to make my choices. And that's what I'm really trying to get to my kids is, listen, the more that you work and the more that you love your work, the more choices you have that will eventually affect your future. And that goes the same with kind of how you eat and how you look at your life. And it's about what you put into it as much as how much you want to get out of it. And I think that's always where you want to go.
I think something you and Susie did, I don't know if you did it consciously or not, but you were always giving your kids an opportunity to learn alongside you, but I think to have experiences with you. Like, and you know, you've always, as a family, you've had this incredible focus on you know, charitable contribution and giving back, and not in a rote way, like in a very part of the fabric of your family way. When did that, because you know, John and I are still at the outset of our parenting, and we think our kids are gold, and they are. They are.
No, but I think the whole idea that you have to wait to have something to give back, I think what fundamentally has to be a part of every child's world is you just have to give. And you have to give to people you never met before. And you have to give unconditionally. And you have to find a way for them to feel a part of a civic duty where they give without having ever first taken. And I think once we get that kind of mindset going, that you always do something for somebody else, whether it's helping the little old lady across the street, or helping the teacher clean up at the end of the classroom, or helping your friends do their homework when you see that they're struggling, or going down to the mission and helping serve, you know, meals on a Sunday. Not necessarily the given one, like the Thanksgiving or the Christmas, but like all of them or some of them. But it needs to become part of the regular daily experience. You know, when I hear my son say that he can't find anything that he really loves, I say, maybe you should take a gap here. You should go build something for somebody you never met before for a whole year and think about what you want. Because at that point, maybe it becomes a little bit more crystal clear. But it doesn't, like, no one hands it to you in social media. No one says, here it is, it's a tweet. I figured it out. I got this all figured out. Hold on, there's a selfie. I can see myself figuring it out right now. It doesn't happen that way. As you said today, oh, you guys had privacy. I'm like, well, yeah, we didn't take selfies either. I mean, you know, there's a time.
I'm sure you took selfies. They just don't live in the cloud.
We didn't even have cameras.
Polaroids,
no,
Mario.
Grandma had camera, Mom had camera, kids had cameras, right? I mean, but like we weren't sitting around taking pictures of everything we took a look at.
Well, that's incorrect, actually. I have wonderful family videos that my dad would take out of our van window of like every scene that
was your dad, that wasn't you. And you weren't going to school the next day and said, hey, want to see a slideshow?
No, my point to you is that in your generation, you did take those pictures. They just don't live forever in the public sphere where everyone can look at them and you can look back and say, oh my gosh, why did I make that choice?
She's feeling a little overexposed this week, isn't she?
No, I'm actually not.
Well, I think the path that you've chosen is working. I think that your parents have done a great job. You've chosen an excellent husband. You have 2 fantastic children. Where's the darkness, Daphne Oz? Is there anything I can help you with?
Are you the little devil on my shoulder?
No, I'm just saying, like, what can go awry that you can fix? I mean, like, where is the disappointment? I mean, I would say here's my issue. Here's
taking a very dark
no. I would say that perhaps one of the least appreciated components of life in my children's lifetime is a bit of failure.
Yeah.
I think that all the kids are told, you did a great job. And everyone gets a trophy in the sports world. There's not been a last place team since 1994. and I understand the idea, but what that creates is an artificial threshold of expectation in every single child that they're all great. Well, maybe you suck at baseball, man, and it's okay to suck at baseball. You should wrestle or go swimming or something. I mean, there's nothing wrong that some people are better at some things than others. And I'm not saying there needs to be a hierarchy, but we can't constantly say little Jovi was perfect at everything Jovi did, nor Daphne, nor Mario.
But that goes to your point of letting and encouraging your sons to figure out the things that they came to them naturally. Like, I think we spend a lot of time trying to improve on things that we're not naturally good at, when in reality we might be much more effective if we run towards the things that we are. Like, I'm never going to be a marathoner. I know that about myself. I also can't jump or dance very well, so I still may do Dancing with the Stars, but you know, that it's not, those aren't the things that I spend my life focusing on. So when you ask about the darkness, like, the things that I remember most being prized as we were growing up wasn't, getting the A, although certainly that was desirable. It was working hard and showing dedication, devotion, perseverance, perhaps some manipulation of teachers who are not going along with it.
Right.
But figuring out what you are naturally going to have excellence in and be able to excel in, and also what you're going to have fun doing. And I suck at a lot of things, obviously. But I think that the most important thing to focus on is what is giving you joy in your life on a daily basis, and make that the priority. Not, fixing all the bad
I guess
things.
I don't mean to say failure or suck. I meant to say that there's a component of struggling through something that wasn't initially, oh yeah, that's great. And oh yeah, you're really good at that. Or yeah, you're pretty good. No, you're gonna have to work really hard on this.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because
it isn't that anybody has to fail. And I don't think being the last place team is necessarily the most important thing. But having to struggle through something, and yes, I need to improve on that, and I can work on it, and I can go through it. I think our
it teaches
most
you everything.
recent generation has been shorted a little bit of that by some kind of democratization of success.
Yes and no, but I think you'd be surprised the places people can find that lesson that life will give them. So I talk about this for me. I thought that having been overweight as a kid was going to be my cross to bear. And I thought that, being the overweight kid in a family who was very focused on health, going through high school at 180 pounds, having that experience, I thought that was going to be the thing that set the tone for my entire life, and that was always going to be something I struggled with. And interestingly, having gone through the struggle of needing having this extra weight I was carrying around, knowing it was making me unhealthy, making me unhappy, not allowing me to do the things, play sports the way I wanted to, excel in class the way I wanted to, because I was eating junk food that was making my brain not focus properly. Going through the experience of then figuring out this path that was going to allow me to find health on my own terms taught me everything I needed to know about not letting one experience in your life define you, and about, more than anything, turning what are perceived failures into successes. And I think, to your point, that wasn't some epic, colossal public failure in a major way. That was just taking the kernel of truth that I believe that life will give you the lesson until you learn it, basically. So you're going to keep having this experience of struggle, or this experience of inadequacy, or whatever it is that you're feeling about yourself, until you learn that lesson and come out on the other side of it. And then life will give you different lessons. And you are having lessons of your own all the time. And it's one of those things where inevitably something that you went through when you were a kid that taught you the value of hard work changes everything you do now. And likewise, whatever lesson is that you're learning now will change however you are in the next 20 years. And I think that as humans, we're always going through that process.
Pretty wise for 30. All right, I got some questions from the audience out there.
Can I have some tequila? This is really stressful.
Not yet. No. We have to finish before you have tequila. Just like you have to eat your vegetables before you get your dessert. All right, ready?
Better rule.
As a reminder, Daphne will be signing her new book outside, and everyone, it is, we're headed right toward Christmas season. What is your advice for someone who wants to start cooking but doesn't have a lot of free time and currently can barely make grilled cheese? Also, what's your favorite cereal?
Oh, these are great questions. Barely make grilled cheese, I don't believe. I believe that you can put butter in a pan and put a piece of toast in there with some cheese on top of it, put another piece of toast on it, and flip it. I know you better than you know yourself.
She's not calling you a liar.
I'm not calling you a liar. But advice for a quick meal, if that's what you feel confident in now, I'm going to go with soup. I think soup is the great confidence booster. I think that it's very hard to mess up. I think you can get a lot of flavor and pack a lot of power into a very basic preparation. You're going to put some olive oil in the pan, a little garlic and onion. I'm going to tell you my favorite recipe: a little garlic and onion, a little sweet potato or carrot in there. You can shred it up and saute that. Throw in some red lentils, water, let it simmer for 25 minutes. You have awesome red lentil soup. So easy, creamy, and delicious, and I know you'll be able to do it. Once you master that, I think the one dish that everyone should know how to make a version they love of is a roast chicken. I think it makes everyone feel like a badass in the kitchen. And I make one with truffle salt that I know you're gonna scoff at, don't scoff at me. That packs $500 worth of truffle flavor into the price of a cappuccino.
So tell us your roast chicken recipe. It can't take more than a minute. Come on.
No, it doesn't take more than a minute. Okay. You salt the bird, you put the butter underneath its skin.
You brine it?
No.
When do you salt it?
Right before you cook it. Well, 20 minutes before you cook it if you have time. And then you roast it at 375 for 20 minutes on its breast side down. Flip it over and roast it the remaining hour, 20 minutes, breast side up. Really crispy, juicy, delicious skin, juicy breast, juicy thighs. Dinner for, and stuff it with onions.
Yeah, bang. All right, question 2. First, thanks for both your support of the Meatless Monday. I work on the Meatless Monday campaign.
Favorite cereal? You forgot.
Oh, favorite cereal, sorry.
Life. I love Life.
Bullshit. Life. Gotta be either Quisp, Quake, or Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries. One of the 3.
No, Life. I'm
All
not
right,
kidding.
all right,
It's
all
so
right,
good.
all right,
Or Rice
all
Krispie
right,
Treats.
all right. My question, since food shopping is part of the joy of cooking, how do you feel about meal kits?
Yeah.
And how do they affect the overall happiness of cooking?
I am a big fan of meal kits. I had to tell you, like, we don't currently get one. My aunt and uncle out in LA, we were out visiting them, and they had gotten, I think, like a blue plate or blue something.
Blue Apron.
Blue Apron, thank you. And they made a like a homemade pizza with this incredible like garlic cheese blend, a great, couple fish fillets. Everything came ready for them in terms of it came portioned exactly what they needed, so they weren't buying 4 different spice bottles for little tiny pinches they wanted, but they were getting this incredible flavor boom. And my aunt, who herself would say she's not like a big cook, she was so confident after making these meals that her family loved. And
So the box comes and the recipe's in it and the product is there already shopped,
the box comes,
right?
the recipe's in it, the product's already shopped, they're already portioned
Why don't
for
you
you.
do this?
Because I love food shopping.
No.
I actually
but I mean, why
can't
don't you
wait
have
to
a
go to the
Daphne
grocery
Oz, Dr. Oz brand?
store. Of boxes? You are an entrepreneur, aren't you? Do you want to run this business? Should we do it?
Good idea.
I think it's genius. And there are
Well, no, because I'm again back to the food deserts. Yes, in New York City we go shopping. We can do it on the way home from any place we
the
work.
biggest problem with them currently is they're still pricey. I mean, they have great services. One Potato that does like specifically this focus on family meals, cooking with small kids. They have ones
How
that
much
are
are
for I don't know. I don't
They
buy
30
them.
bucks?
I don't buy them, so I don't know what the exact price is. But I imagine they're pretty pricey given that you're getting the convenience of everything being sent to you. It's still fresh. It's already prepped. I mean, there's a lot of convenience that goes into it. So if there's
there's a vegetarian one or a vegan one?
Yeah, I'm sure there are. But like when you look at a CSA box, the only difference there is you're only getting vegetables. They're not prepped for you, but you're getting a similar access to a bounty of things you can then play with. So I mean, I think there are gradients of things you can find based on your budget level that would allow you to play in the kitchen without having to necessarily go to the grocery store yourself and start from scratch, which is sometimes when you have a blank canvas, it's overwhelming.
That's too much. I mean, I think that's what the people like about it because it's measured.
Completely.
You can't make a mistake.
And start there, learn that technique, and then you can change the flavors as much as you want.
All right. What's something you'd like to see more of then think is missing from the current media coverage of food?
I think that we need to do more to make consumers feel empowered. And that was part of what I was getting to earlier today. Like, I think a lot of the times because we're tired or we're overwhelmed, we go to the grocery store and we just buy what's there. Or we go to the convenience store and we just buy what's there. And I think that we need to feel more empowered to speak up and say, this is what I want available for my family. And why does an apple cost more, having come off the tree the way it looks, than a bag of chips that spent 15 hours in processing? In what universe does that make sense? Why do we have access to the worst quality things at a very cheap price point, but not great things that by the way, I think we should see it like this. Invest in your health now. Wouldn't you rather spend your money on eating great food now and hopefully avoid spending it on the operating table down the road? Not that I want surgeons out of business, but I think.
Wouldn't it be nice if surgeons had more time to spend with their grandchildren? No,
fair, totally
fair.
fair.
I think the answer to that is if I have $8 for dinner for my family for 3, and I can go to the Popeyes and get 9 wings for less money than I can get it at a grocery store.
For one salad at a grocery
store. Cook it in a toaster oven that doesn't really work that well. They have priced it very competitively for me not to shop around to think very much about it. So I don't blame the consumer, nor do I blame Popeyes for doing exactly what they do. We told them the mission.
But that's my point.
They have
it's not about blame. It's about seeing that we as consumers have a lot of power. Like no one's telling us that we have this power. Right. It's your dollar. It's your wallet. You're voting every time you use it. And I think the more, yes, like if that is the reality today, then that is the reality today, and you accept that as it is and you move on. But I think, I think that the more you can even make little steps to convince the people around you that are supplying this food to you that you will spend the money on a better product, even if it's just a marginal increase on a better product, and you'll be there to buy that product, they'll provide it for you. They just want to make money. You know?
I think that's kind of the Choose mission. Our mission is to say that you're going to make sacrifices, you're going to also make compromises, and don't be feeling bad about yourself. Do the best thing that you possibly can.
Well, the other thing that we do that I love on the Chew is, like, you know, the way you cook in your restaurants is not the way you cook at home for your family. And you and our entire show have been so inspirational to me in that way, in terms of, you know, to be able to see how esteemed, accoladed chefs cook when they're at home in the comfort of their kitchens and just trying to get a quick meal on the table like the rest of us. It opens your brain to how creative, simple food can be. Like going back to your taco night, yeah, you make your chicken with cheese tacos, your steak with cheese tacos, but then you also go the extra mile of soaking Vidalia onion and orange juice with a habanero slit in there and some salt, and it's like, this changes the game, you know?
Or Chef Leo does.
Chef Leo.
Our babysitter, our children left.
But she stayed.
And our babysitter didn't. Still love her too much. Taco Wednesdays live on.
Vive le
Are there
taco.
3 or 4 food staples you would not live without, and what are they? Staples.
Things I always have in my fridge. I always have mustard. I always have wine. I always have butter.
That's it. Good night, everybody.
Mustard
Drop
and
the
wine
mic.
and butter. You know, I think the biggest things in terms of produce that I use a ton of lettuce, I use a ton of avocados, I use lemons, and I use onions or garlic, shallots. And then in terms of like accoutrement and garnishes and things like that, a good sea salt, olive oil, lemon helps here too, but a good vinegar or a mustard, and then some fresh herbs. Those are my staples. And hot sauce.
This is a conceptual question.
Oh, good.
Does the egg get a bad rap?
Does the egg get a bad rap?
That's what the question is.
Who asked that question? What egg?
I would ask that question.
What's the egg? My
Oh,
head?
for a long time. No, not the egg, the chicken egg, the egg was tight. For a long time, it was told us that cholesterol was
this is
the
a
worst
nutritional
sin.
question.
Yes, that's a nutritional.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What did you think this was?
I don't
An
know
art
why.
question?
You said it was like a metaphysical question.
Well, it is.
I don't know. I thought it was
is.
like does the
In
egg
Islamic art, does the egg have a bad rap?
I was like conflating apple from the tree and the egg and the whole thing.
right.
Anyway, egg. Does the egg get a bad rap? I will say that I eat eggs regularly. I know there have been lots of things that have been said about linking cholesterol, you know, to overall health and you know how we need to avoid eating too many eggs. I don't subscribe to that necessarily. I think that when you eat food, the form in which it comes in, and for whatever reason, by its natural biochemistry that way, like our bodies are generally better able to respond to it. And so, you know, obviously nothing overwhelming in overwhelming amounts, but I think if you have it in its natural form, it's good. I think it's good.
So no.
But I
No.
wouldn't eat
The
12,
answer is
you know,
no.
12 dozen eggs every day.
I used to be very much more excited about egg yolks, and now I think egg whites are more interesting to me.
Really?
But I must say, during white truffle season, I do like a whole egg
whole
with
egg.
white truffles on it. How do you feel about frozen food? She loves ice cream. I guarantee
Yeah,
that.
I do love ice cream. Go Halo Top. I think you know, with frozen foods, I think are actually great. And you guys brought me around to this too. Like the idea that frozen food is harvested at its peak ripeness, flash frozen at that point, so it maintains its maximum nutritional effects, and is obviously extremely convenient to pull out of your freezer at night. I'm a big fan. You know, that said, frozen prepared foods is obviously not the ideal, but I think that, you know, I have tons of frozen fruits and vegetables in my fridge. I have, you know, I freeze meat and keep it in my freezer. So I'm a big fan.
Did you ever eat a TV dinner?
Yes.
Little tray made of
We had
metal.
lentil loaf.
Really?
Tell him that. I'm not lying. We had lentil loaf.
But who made that?
It's
It
not-
wasn't a TV dinner. See, TV dinner was made for watching TV. No, TV dinner was, it had the little metal tray and it had the Salisbury steak
seen
and
it
the
in
gravy and the
museums.
peas and
Yeah.
the mashed potatoes.
No, I know.
Museums, that's cute. Right. Take a moment and talk about expiration dates. Ooh, that's an interesting essay question.
Well, didn't we? I mean, we talk about this on the show sometimes, where expiration dates not to always be ignored, but sometimes they're put on there to accelerate the quickness with which you'll buy a new product, not because the product is necessarily bad. Use your nose. You know, with milk, like it might say it's expired. You can smell it. If it doesn't smell or taste sour, why not use it?
Still good.
Still good.
Let's say you get on a plane with the Samsung 7 and it starts to explode. You got a problem. You might want to look at the expiration date in the back, all right? How do you get your kids to taste new stuff they think they don't like vegetables?
So my mom and my grandma actually were the ones who said this to me, don't make eating a battle of wills. So I'm not gonna sit there and stomp my foot and say, you are gonna eat this right now. Because then it becomes about resisting me, not about resisting the food. Right. And so I put it out there. I try to get her to taste it. I will say, you know, have one bite. But I'm not, at the end of the day, if tonight's just not the night and she just wants, you know, cereal with milk, I'm not going to wear that like a cloak of shame, and I'm also not going to make it a big deal, because if I don't make it a big deal and all she sees is John and I enjoying that meal, tomorrow she might want to try it, or the next day whenever it is that she decides she wants to be part of the adult conversation, the adult dinner table, she's going to want to try that. And so I think we try to lead by example and make the items that we want her to eat available widely, and offer her many opportunities to try them, and then let her come to the table a little bit.
I remember when we first opened Del Posto 12 years ago, and in our family, it was never weird to try anything, and we never made a big deal of it. Like if the parsnips were brand new, we just passed the parsnips. We never said, it's a parsnip, you're going to like this thing, it's strange, but whatever. So I'll never forget when we had something called cibreo, which is a Tuscan stew served with pasta that's made of the regalie of the chicken or the duck, which means all of the things that they give you, including the gizzards, the heart, the testicles, the waddle. And at age like the little
gobbler
jiggly thing. And when people would ask Leo what his favorite thing to eat was when he was like 13, he would say, duck testicles. and it was a badge of courage for him to be able to look someone in the eye and say, have you fucking tried duck testicles? And if you can get them to that spot where they're proud of their experimentation, I think it's a good thing. But I don't think you can make that happen. It has to be by, I mean, like when I go to restaurants, I always order the things that I haven't tried before, because that for me is the exploration of why I went to a restaurant. Yeah. If I'm just going to have a tuna steak with some mango salsa, I can probably get better tuna at my house. Mm-hmm. I can probably make mango salsa faster and put it on the table more quickly. But if I see like braised something or an ingredient that I don't necessarily see in a store very often, that's always the one I will order. And the kids saw that and they would always give it a try, and it was never frightening to them.
But I don't think you've ever eaten for the sake of just for the experience of having eaten one thing. I think you have to be
not
tempted.
As a challenge.
Right, exactly.
Right. It's more intellectually satisfying.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to have trouble with that with Philo. She's a little bit of a terror as it is. She'll go fine.
She'll be fine. All right, so this is the last question. I mean, and I never understood it, but what would your last meal be?
I've thought about this so much. Okay, so we're gonna have a bright leaf, part of it's modeled on a restaurant in Paris, actually. So we're gonna have a bright leafy green salad with like a really tart citrus vinaigrette, and with crusty baguette and perfectly salted butter. Then we're gonna have a really good roasted chicken, thighs only, and also a chicken and dumpling situation. I need to have a little bit of that. And a hamburger, and then for dessert, I'm gonna have and French fries. And for dessert, I'm gonna have chocolate
ketchup
cake.
or vinegar.
Both. I'm into that. I like that. Like a mostarda.
Right.
Oh, and then for dessert, we're having molten chocolate cake with fresh vanilla bean ice cream, and champagne. And you're gonna be the somm for the rest of the evening. I'll let you pick it up.
Me being the somm is a dangerous and expensive proposition.
It's my last fucking meal. So
well, I think you got it, kids. Dr. and Mrs. Oz, you've obviously raised a brilliant child. John, you're as lucky as I am in that you chose a perfect wife. And I've got to know Daphne over the last 6 seasons at the Chew, and I loved her the day I met her, and I love her even more now. So thank you all for coming. She will be signing her books out in the front.
Thank you, Mario.
And it's an honor to merely share a stage with her. Thank you all for coming, and thank you to the 92nd Street Y. They always put on a great show. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, guys.